Pastor Wainwright, let me ask you a few questions. Can you deny that the Overlords have brought security, peace, and prosperity to the world?
That is true, but they have taken our liberty. Man does not live by
Bread alone, yes, I know, but this is the first age in which every person can be sure of getting even that. In any case, what freedom have we lost compared to what the Overlords have given us for the first time in human history? In 3 days, I will meet with the supervisor again. I will explain your objections to him, since it is my duty to represent the views of the world. But it will alter nothing, I can assure you of that.
We have many objections to the Overlords. My personal fear is that the presence of the Overlords will make organized religion obsolete. But above all, we detest their secretiveness. You're the only human being who has ever spoken with Karellen, and even you have never seen him. Is it surprising that we doubt his motives?
Despite all that he has done for humanity?
Yes, despite that. I do not know which we resent more, Karellen's omnipotence or his secrecy. If he has nothing to hide, why will he never reveal himself? Well, next time you speak with the supervisor, Mr. Stormgren, ask him that. We can argue round Karellen forever, but in the end, we always come back to the same question. Why the devil won't he show himself? I've theorized that their physical form is so alien and repulsive that they dare not show themselves to humanity. Well, until he does, I will go on theorizing, and the Freedom League will go on fulminating.
Yes, Ricky. I was listening to your little interview. What did you make of Wainwright?
Wainwright is honest, even if many of her supporters aren't. What are we going to do about her? The League itself isn't dangerous, but some of its extremists are openly advocating violence. I wonder if I should put a guard in my house, but I hope it isn't necessary.
The details of the World Federation have been out for a month now. Has there been a substantial increase in the 7% who don't approve of me? Or the 12% who don't know?
Not yet, but that's of no importance. What does worry me is a general feeling, even among your supporters, that it's time for this secrecy to end.
That's your feeling too, isn't it?
I wonder if you appreciate just how difficult this state of affairs makes my job.
It doesn't exactly help mine. I wish people would stop thinking of me as a dictator and remember I'm only a civil servant trying to administer a colonial policy in whose shaping I had no hand.
Couldn't you give us some reason for your concealment? Because we don't understand it, it annoys us and gives rise to endless rumors. I have to go down and convince everyone that you have nothing to hide, even though you refuse to reveal yourselves. Curiosity is one of the most dominant characteristics of human behavior. You can't defy it forever.
Of all the problems that faced us when we came to Earth, this was the most difficult. You have trusted our wisdom in other matters. Surely you can trust us in this.
I trust you, but Wainwright doesn't, nor do her supporters. Can you really blame them for putting a bad interpretation on your unwillingness to reveal yourselves?
Ah, Mr. Secretary. I'm glad to see you're awake. I hope you feel quite all right.
How long have I been unconscious?
Several days. We were promised there'd be no after effects. I'm glad to see it's true.
Where am I? Does Wainwright know about this? You must be a lot of fools to think you can trick the Overlords this easily. What conceivable good will it do?
Our motives should be obvious. We found arguments useless, so we have to resort to other measures. There have been underground movements before, and even the Karellen, whatever powers he's got, won't find it easy to deal with us. We're out to fight for our independence.
What do you intend to do with me? Am I a hostage or what?
Mr. Secretary General, we're interested in information only, nothing else.
You know what our motives are. Call us a resistance movement if you like. We believe that sooner or later, Earth will have to fight for its independence, but we realize that the struggle can only be by indirect methods, such as sabotage and disobedience. We kidnapped you partially to show Karellen that we mean business, and we are well organized, but largely because you are the only man who can tell us anything of the Overlords.
You're a reasonable man, Mr. Stormgren. Give us your cooperation, and you could have your freedom.
Exactly what do you wish to know?
Do you know who or what the Overlords really are?
Believe me, I'm as anxious as you to discover that.
Then you'll answer our questions.
I make no promises, but I may.
We have a general idea of the circumstances in which you met Karellen, but perhaps you would describe them carefully, leaving out nothing of importance.
Well, you know, of course, that a small flying machine with no obvious means of propulsion calls for me at regular intervals and takes me to Karellen's ship. It enters the hull. You've doubtless seen the images that have been taken of that operation, and the door opens again, if you can call it a door, and I go into a small room, and there's a table, a chair, and a vision screen. And it looks something like this.
I'm a little surprised, Mr. Secretary, that you've never made any effort to learn more about the Overlords. Suppose they're hiding the fact that they've got nothing to hide. That physically they're human beings like us, realizing that we'd be more tolerant being ruled by creatures we imagine to be alien and super intelligent.
What do you suggest? I've told you. There's only one way out of the room in which I have my talks with Karellen, and it goes straight back to Earth.
It might be possible to devise instruments that could teach us something.
Once and for all, let me make my position perfectly clear. Karellen is working for a united world, and I'll do nothing to help his enemies. What his ultimate plans may be, I don't know, but I believe that they are good.
You may be correct. Possibly the motives of the Overlords are good, according to the other standards, which may sometimes be the same as ours. But they're interlopers. We never ask them to come here and turn our world upside down, destroying ideals, yes, and nations that generations of men have fought to protect.
I come from a small nation that had to fight for its liberties. Yet I am for Karellen. You may annoy him. You may even delay the achievement of his aims, but it will make no difference in the end. Doubtless you are sincere in believing as you do. I can understand your fear that national and ethnic traditions and cultures will be overwhelmed when the world state arrives. But you are wrong. It is useless to cling to the past. Even before the Overlords came to Earth, the sovereign state was dying. They have merely hastened it. No one can save it now, and no one should try. Yes?
That was a nice speech, Ricky. Thank you. Now I think we can go.
Karellen! Thank God. You know where I am? You heard it all?
Communication devices are capable of more than one function.
What have you done?
Don't worry, they're quite all right. You can call it a paralysis, but it's much more subtler than that. They're simply living 1,000 years more slowly than normal. When we've gone, they'll never know what happened. I'm sorry I couldn't rescue you before, but you see how very important it was to wait until all the leaders had gathered here.
Do you mean to say that you knew where I was all the time? If I thought...
Don't be too hasty. At least, let me finish explaining.
Very well. I'm listening.
I've had perhaps tracer is the best word for it, on you for some time, though your hosts were correct in thinking that I couldn't follow you underground. Their transfer in the tunnel was ingenious. It was merely a matter of waiting. I knew that once they were certain I'd lost you, the leaders would come here.
But you're letting them go.
Until now, I had no way of telling you of the billions on this planet who are the real heads of the organization. Now that they're located, I can trace their movements anywhere on Earth and can watch their actions in detail if I want to. That's far better than locking them up. If they make any moves, they'll betray their remaining comrades. They're effectively neutralized and they know it. Your rescue will be completely inexplicable to them, for you must have vanished before their eyes.
Have you had any word yet from your superiors about showing yourself to us? I'm sure now that it's the strongest argument your enemies have. Again and again, they told me. We'll never trust the Overlords until we can see them.
No, I've heard nothing, but I know what the answer must be.
Do you think he's listening?
I don't think so, Pierre. He has what he calls a tracer on me, for my protection, but it doesn't work underground, which is one reason why I came down to this dungeon of yours. It's supposed to be shielded from all forms of radiation, isn't it? Karellen's no magician. He knows where I am right now, but no more than that.
I hope you're right. Apart from that, won't there be trouble when he discovers what you're trying to do? Because he will, you know.
I'll take that risk.
It's a very pretty problem. I like it. Let me make sure I have all the facts. Tell me everything you can about the room in which you have your interviews. Don't omit anything, any detail, however trivial it might seem. A door, walls, a chair.
A vision screen as well.
A vision screen? What makes you think, Ricky, that Karellen's vision screen, as you call it, is really what it pretends to be? What need would he have for a vision screen and not just a one-way mirror? First of all, we've got to find out if my theory is correct, and if so, something about what the material of that screen is. By the way, I suppose you carry a briefcase with you when you have your meetings with the supervisor. Is that the one you've got there?
So now, as my term as Secretary General comes to an end, I'll be working for a smooth transition to the next stage of our relationship. It would be nice to tie up some loose ends that have lingered during my tenure.
Yes, I received a decision a few hours ago.
Is it about?
I can't go into details, even with you, so you must accept my analysis on trust. We can, however, make this definite promise, which should give you some satisfaction. In 50 years, 2 generations from now, we will come down from our ships, and humanity will at last see us as we are. I'm sorry if this disappoints you, But at least the political problems of the near future won't be your responsibility.
Karellen, I'll draft out a statement and send it up to you for approval. But I reserve the right to continue pestering you. If there's any opportunity, I'll discover your secret.
I'm perfectly well aware of that.
And you don't mind?
Not in the least.
Well, we couldn't be quite sure, but Karellen views you under normal lighting, doesn't he? So his eyes must be approximately similar to ours in spectral range. Anyways, it worked. We've proved that there is a large room behind that screen of yours. The screen is about 3 centimeters thick, and the room behind it is about 10 meters across. We couldn't detect any echo from the far wall, but we hardly expected to with the low power, which was all we dared use. However, we did get this.
What is it?
Only Karellen.
Good Lord. Are you sure?
It's a pretty safe guess. He's sitting or standing, or whatever it is he does, about 2 meters on the other side of the screen. If the resolution had been a bit better, we might have been able to calculate his size. You realize, of course, that there's no such thing as true one-way glass. It's simply a matter of arranging the lights. Karellen sits in a darkened room. You are illuminated. That's all. Ha! But we're going to change that.
There is no need for you or your successor to worry unduly about the Freedom League, even when it has recovered from its present despondency. It has been very quiet for the past month, and though it will revive again, it will not be a danger for some years. Indeed, since it is always valuable to know what your opponents are doing, the League is a very useful institution. Should it ever get into financial difficulties, I might even have to subsidize it. During the next 50 years, there will be many crises, but they will pass. The pattern of the future is clear enough.
And one day, all these difficulties will be forgotten, even to a race with memories as long as yours.
You have often asked me about our long-term plans. The foundation of the world state is, of course, only the first step. You will live to see its completion, but the change will be so imperceptible that few will notice it when it comes. After that, there will be a period of slow consolidation while your race becomes prepared for us. And then will come the day which we have promised. I am sorry you will not be there. On that day, the human race will experience what can only be called a psychological discontinuity. But no permanent harm will be done. The men of that age will be more stable than their grandfathers. We will always have been part of their lives, and when they meet us, we will not seem so strange as we would to you.
And after that?
Then, we can begin our real work.
Suppose, after all, your experiment fails with humankind. We have known such things in our own dealings with primitive human races. Surely you have your failures too?
Yes, we have had our failures.
And what do you do then?
We wait and try again. Goodbye, Ricky.
It was the final proof, Stormgren knew, of Karellen's affection for him. Karellen had trusted him, and Stormgren had not betrayed his faith. He was as sure as he could be of anything that the supervisor had known his plan from the beginning, and had foreseen every moment of its final act. Why else had that enormous chair been already empty when the circle of light blazed upon it? In the same moment he had started to swing the beam, fearing that he was too late, the metal door, twice as high as a man, was closing swiftly when he first caught sight of it. Closing swiftly, yet not quite swiftly enough.